Hey, 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 happy
Hello,
Sunday,
happy
beautiful people.
Sunday, beautiful souls.
It is good to see you. It's good to be here with all of you. Let us begin as we always do, because we have so much goodness to
Yes.
get into. Let us begin as we always do with prayer. And this morning, our prayer champion, Reverend Shauna, will lead us in prayer.
Beautiful people, happy Mother's Day. Close your eyes, breathe in love and compassion, and breathe out worry, doubt, or fear. Ground yourself right here and right now. Right where we are, God is. God the omnipresence, God the omnipotence, God the omniscience, God the creator, God the universal mind, God the all and everything. God is the power, the love, the vibration, and the ease inside each one of us. God is the magnificence shining through our humanity. God pumps our blood, breathes our lungs, and animates each one of us. We are because God is. God has demonstrated miracles in my life. God has seen me through every challenge. There is the certainty that all that I am, all that I have, and all that I do is from the God in me. I am witnessing ordinary miracles and answered prayers in the lives of this CSC community, in my family, in my neighborhood, and in this country. I realize that what I might see with my eyes is not the truth. I realize that what I may hear on the news is not the truth. I realize I am free to choose my reality. So right here and right now, in this moment, I am choosing. I choose to focus on the good. I choose to focus on that which is beneficial, which gives me hope. I choose to focus and remember that within every challenge, there is a gift. I am a light worker. I am a healer. I have greatness in me because wherever I am, God is. And it is our great privilege to be those light workers and healers right here and right now. I am grateful and thankful for our mothers. I am grateful and thankful for all those who nurture and care for us. I am grateful and thankful for all those we mother. I am grateful and thank you for such a beautiful, self-aware, conscious members of the CSC community holding the highest vibration for ourselves, our families, our neighborhoods, and our planet. I am grateful and thankful for the technology that allows us to come together, to see each other, to hear the music, to meditate, and be reminded through this masterclass of the truth. I focus my awareness and my attention on power, and the power says, be still and know that I am God. We then go forth today and throughout our week confidently, knowingly, mindfully, joyfully. So I release this word into that divine law that already knows what to do and how to do it, and declare that it is already done. So it is with total joy, acceptance, and expectation that we now say Amen, Ashe, and so it is.
Amen.
Amen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so
And so it
it is.
is.
Well, I want to say welcome to all of our first time guests. If there's anyone, if this is your first time joining us, we're in week 6 of this masterclass. You'll see here on the screen, there's a number that you can text to join our mailing list. We want to stay in touch with you. We want to keep you informed of everything that's going on with us at CSC, whether we're staying at home or whether we're together physically. So that number there on the screen is 347-472-1078. Text the word welcome. Nothing else, just the word welcome. And then you will receive a prompt so that you can give us your name, your information, your email address, your cell phone number, and we can stay in touch. We have so many things to cover today. We have so many good things going on. And so we'll start with our announcements. Because there are a few good things to talk about. But first and foremost, we know there are so many mothers here connected this morning with us and will be connected with us throughout the day. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
We love you. We see you. We appreciate you. We've already seen lots of Happy Mother's Day
Mm-hmm.
greetings in the comments, but we, of course, want to make sure that we are just sending you our love and know that you're in our hearts, and we pray that you have an amazing and a special day. And that your families are doing something wonderful for you.
Absolutely. And for those of you whose mothers are not physically here, we hope that this day brings sweet memories of your mothers, of those caregivers that we've all had the opportunity to have in our lives. And so happy Mother's Day to you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we want to remind you, as we've been reminding you each and every week, this is one of the resources that are available to you as we are staying at home, as we're many times in need of support. We have a weekly prayer call. It's live every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Feel free to join us. Check out the information here. Grab this number, put it in your phone. Call in, and there's also the playback number there. And so you can listen to this prayer anytime throughout the week. Just call the playback number and wait. It'll ask you to enter a code. You actually don't have to do that for the playback. I think it's a reference number. It says you don't need the reference number. Just wait, and it'll play the most recent prayer. You can listen to that prayer 24/7, anytime, anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So please take advantage of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, if you have a prayer request and you want to leave your worries at the door, as we do each and every Sunday, you can email us at prayerchampions@celebrationsc.org. And PY, myself, and the Prayer Champions will hold the truth and the highest knowing with you and for you around whatever the situation, circumstance, or challenge may be. Feel free to email us because we constantly, the two of us, we're holding all of you in our hearts and in our minds, and only seeing the best for you and only knowing the best for you. But it's helpful at times when we can know how to think and how to pray around whatever it is that you're seeking to experience in your life.
And when you do that, when you send that prayer request out, know in that actual moving and pressing send that you are releasing it. It becomes a ritual, a way of continually releasing those things that you want to be held from the highest perspective, which is what we talked about.
Absolutely.
So please do that. Use that as another opportunity to release anything that you're holding, any worry, any doubt, or any fear.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Next Sunday is third Sunday, which means that it's God Talk Sunday. And we're happy to continue the God Talk. This is a 1-hour forum where you're able to ask questions. Many times new thought principles can be challenging, particularly if you're coming out of another spiritual tradition or another theological position. You may like what you're hearing and you may want to apply what you're hearing, but there's so many things that need to be unlearned or understood in a new way. So that's what part of what this forum is about. But specifically, as we are staying at home and as we are moving through this global pandemic, we're focusing on COVID-19, providing support related to that because there's so many different things going on in our lives, focusing on grief and loss. And so we want to support you in applying new thought principles, metaphysical teachings to what's happening in your life.
Right, because if this is not practical, if you can't apply it to your life, then it's actually not worth it.
Yep.
And so we want to make sure that if there's any challenges or any questions that you have, maybe it's that feeling of isolation and where does that come from and how do I address that? Anything that is related in this particular instance, we want to make sure you have a forum for that. And you have to be in the room.
Yeah.
You know, we will not be accepting questions and addressing those questions. You need to be there. That's the way the format is when we're physically at CSC, and we want to maintain that. So make sure that you're there next Sunday at 1 o'clock.
Right. And so in order to connect, you have to be on our mailing list, right? By being on our mailing list, we share out in our weekly email that goes out every Friday. The Zoom link and password has been shared for the past 2 weeks in that email. So if you join our mailing list today, you can be sure that you will get that link on Friday. And additionally, we'll have a way for folks who are joining us for the first time next week to also get that link. So that's the only way you'll be able to join. We will not share the Zoom link publicly. You have to be on the mailing list.
Absolutely.
More announcements. So we want to make sure that I know there's a lot.
There's a lot of announcements. It's all good.
We want to make sure that we're not going to have class on the 24th. We will still provide a teaching, but it won't be this class. We'll share a recording of a class that we taught some time ago that we know will be beneficial to you right now and what we're all experiencing. But in terms of a live class, there won't be a live class for spiritual economics on the last Sunday of this month, May 24th. That is Memorial Day weekend. And so we're honoring our normal schedule, and we will be off on that weekend. So this month is also Mental Health Awareness Month. This is something that's very near and dear to our hearts for so many reasons. And so we want to make sure first, as we are based in New York, and in New York, we work with the city and love how New York City has been advocating mental health and mental wellness and ending the stigma, knowing that we thrive together. So if you are in New York City, if you're in the 5 boroughs, there's information here that's on the screen that's available to you. Please take advantage of this. Put the numbers in your phone. If you're talking to a friend or a family member and you feel like they're in crisis or they're struggling, you can offer this information, right? Not that you try to fix anything, but just let them know, hey, I heard that this information is available. It's 24/7. You can talk, you can text, you can chat. Please make use of this. Additionally, New York State, specifically as it relates to COVID-19, also has an emotional support line that's available 7 days a week as well, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. This information is here. I love what New York State is saying, right? It's okay to not be okay. Please don't think that you're supposed to be this strong warrior in the midst of something that is simply unprecedented, right? Very few humans have experienced anything they're currently alive, have experienced anything like what we're experiencing now. And it's actually by admitting that, you know what, I'm not okay, I don't feel okay, I'm sad, that then you can actually get back to being okay.
Absolutely.
All right, so please make use of this. I'll also say and want to share for those that are out of state, if you're in the U.S., you can actually just check out the CDC's website. And if you scroll down here on the bottom, there's actually numbers and information that you can access. I'm not aware of, and I believe that there are some states that are also providing resources similar to New York State. But I know that if you are here in the U.S., you can go to the CDC. If you're global, because shout out to South Africa, we got a message from someone this past week. Yeah. The World Health Organization also has links and resources because there's a widespread recognition that we must remain vigilant about our mental health during this time, and we must support each other. And so the support mechanisms are there. Well, in this time, this is actually perfect when we talk about our health and well-being. It's now time for us to go within, and PY is going to lead us as we do this thing called meditation to access the stillness within.
Yes, and we do this thing called meditation because it is an experience that we have viscerally. And as I like to say, you can read all the spiritual texts that you want, and you can memorize them cover to cover. But if you haven't dropped down into the awareness of your being, if you haven't moved beyond the surface eye to the deeper eye, it's just information. And so God is a felt reality within each of us. And many times when we observe what's going on in the external world, our focus becomes outward. Our faith is projected outward. And so now, during meditation and during our times of meditation, we get to return the focus where it really belongs. We get to return ourselves to that home within us. We get to return and realize that there's something within us that we can rest in. When the world seems turbulent, there is something within us that goes beyond our physical sight that we can rest in. And so this month, we're using the lesson from A Course in Miracles, I rest in God, as our guiding thought for our meditative time, the thing we come back to when we become aware that our thoughts have wandered. We don't judge our thoughts. We just come back to something that is true. We come back to our breath. We come back to this feeling tone and this knowingness that we rest in God. So let's close our eyes right here and right now. And by closing the eyes, that simple act signals the body that it's time to relax. That feeling that we get when we drift off to sleep, that signal that it's okay to rest, that it's okay to rest in something. We find it right here and right now. So from this place of closed eyes and open awareness, let's just notice the breath. We notice the breath right where it is. No judgment of it or ourselves. If the breath appears to be short or shallow, or even if the breath appears to be long and deep and relaxing. From this place of noticing, we also notice that the breath is moving. And we allow it to move and open us even more. And as we notice the breath, we may notice some signals being given to our body. And so we follow the signals. And let's progressively relax every part of this body so that it melts into this resting place. Bringing your focus to the feet. Relax the feet into the floor or wherever you're seated. Surrender the weight that we've carried all week long. And notice an energy being collected underneath the feet that now signals a deeper relax and release. As this energy travels up the calves and up the shins, we give it permission, and so we relax the calves and the shins. Energy flows across the knees, towards the thighs. Relax the knees, relax the thighs. Surrender the weight of both wherever you sit, wherever you are seated. Let it go now. And allow it all to rest. Energy flows up the spine now. Flowing out the crown of the head now. And gathers above us from a perspective that knows all is well. We allow this energy to flow up and out. From an open awareness, an open crown, we allow goodness and ease and rest to flow down across our shoulders, down our arms, out our fingertips. And in our minds, we see this release of energy out the crown, out the fingertips, out the toes. And we know that we're held internally. So let's surrender the body now. Inhaling through the low belly all the way up through the heart, filling this ever-expanding vessel, and releasing. Inhaling, expanding, drawing in on the release. One more time, inhale all the way up and through the heart. Shoulders relax, everything is relaxed, and release. With each breath we expand. With each breath we release. Take a few rounds here on your own to feel that release. We rest in a knowing. We rest in power. We rest in peace. We rest in ease. We rest in God. And as we move into our silent time, thoughts come, thoughts go. We judge them not. When we become aware, we bring our mind back to this thought. I rest in something. I have my being in something. I'm alive in something. Feel that something now. And as we move into our silent time, let this knowingness, let this truth, let this experience be all that you rest in. We will monitor the time. You take that journey inward to God now. With our eyes still closed, we notice from the inside that we rest in something powerful and profound, that within us are the answers and the certainty And we are grateful for this knowing. With our eyes still closed, we take a mental picture, become aware of the sensation of how it feels to experience God within ourselves, and know that it is there whenever we need. And from this place, maybe our breath becomes a little more full now, a little more conscious now, breathing in, holding and releasing it, signaling the body it's time to come back online. Maybe wiggling the fingers and the toes, maybe drawing the shoulders up by the ears and lovingly, gently relaxing them down. Whatever helps to awaken the physical, we join it with the non-physical by bringing the thumbs to the sternum, palms together, slightly bowing the chin, creating an opening in the back of the neck and spine. From this place of connecting to the heart, remembering the heart and our connection to that which is divine within us, slowly flutter the eyes open and gently focus in on a point on the floor in front of you, allowing the eyes to relax and regain awareness from a deeper place. Inhale, raise the chin, raise the gaze. Namaste.
Namaste. Yes, thank you, PY.
Oh, you're welcome.
That vibration is always so good. I know y'all feel it. It's powerful. It's powerful. Well, we are in week 6 of the Thrive Masterclass. And so we're going to move forward with chapter 5 today. For those of you, again, who may be joining us or are just recently tuning in, we are studying Spiritual Economics by Eric Butterworth. If you do not have the book, please get the book. I saw someone in the comments say my book arrived.
Yes.
I'm so happy to hear that. For those of you, if you have the ebook version, all good. If you have the audio version, please make sure you still get the book, because there are things that are omitted in the audio that we think are very important and very powerful. One of the things that I wanted to make sure everybody knows about, we forgot to share this last week. In the weekly emails, we're sharing the links to the study resources and links that are available related to the class. But what we've done is we've also just made it a blog post. That way we can continue to update it as the weeks go by when we add other information, or if there's something that we share that folks really want to have access to. So you can just go to celebrationsc.org/thrive. And you'll get access to that. You can download the practice PDF to develop or enhance your spiritual practice. There's a link to the Truth Unity page, so you can access their resources, and also a link to the PDF that we shared a few weeks ago, the Stages of Spiritual Consciousness, which I think was very beneficial for everyone.
There's some great audio of Eric Butterworth on the Unity page that I enjoy. I enjoy hearing him share his messages around a host of topics, but those specifically related to what we're studying. And many of those ideas and concepts appear. You'll hear them; they become familiar. You'll hear them or read them in the text.
Yeah.
So it's a good resource.
It's an awesome resource.
And you could even sign up for weekly audio if you'd like from Eric Butterworth. They will send it to your email if you want to get that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing is, as you're reading and as you're studying, if something comes up, you have a question, you want more clarity or clarification, or just brings up something to your mind, email us. Email us at truthsunday@celebrationsc.org, and we incorporate those questions and those emails into the teaching for the week. We actually didn't receive any questions related to this chapter, which is all good. We're excited to talk about this chapter and to dig into it because...
And also know that there's no question that's silly. If it's a question that you have, probably more than likely somebody else has the same question. And so it's always good if you have a question to just send it to us, because there's no silly questions or stupid questions. That's a judgment of the ego, and we don't deal there.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right, awesome. So let's go to the Kindle, and let's get into the book here. So chapter 5 is all about gratitude.
Yes.
And gratitude is a wonderful and powerful thing, and something that we all must really be aware of what the vibration of gratitude is really all about and what's really going on. The sermon that we did related to this series, when we did the sermon series, the title, which you will read here, the title was "Gratitude is Not for God." And that's really the underlying idea that we want to make sure everybody gets to and understands. It's a radical idea. Mm-hmm. It's a radical idea because we've been taught just the very opposite, right? And we've been taught that our gratitude and beyond our gratitude, our praise and our thanksgiving and our worship is what brings God in the room, right? And then God will rain down blessings on us. But that's just not how it works.
No. And in fact, that keeps you more separate from God, because then you're praying to something out there. It never becomes where its rightful place is within you. And so you're constantly trying to appease or do things, even in your gratitude, if it's from that perspective, to make this God pay attention to you.
All right, so let's dig in. This first highlight, I love this because it's an idea that we keep coming back to, that we've read in varying ways from the preface and the introduction in week 1 all the way up till now. Your most important asset is the conscious control of your own life. Nothing else can satisfy or fulfill unless you enjoy the freedom that comes from control of your inner world of mind and emotions. And so this is important first when we're talking about controlling your life, right? Because we many times think that's simply talking about the external, right? I can't control what other drivers do on the road when I'm driving. I can't control what the president does in the White House. I can't control what my kids do. I can't, right? There's so many things. And we think that's what we're talking about when we're talking about control. Your own life is your inner world of mind and emotions. No matter what's going on outside of you, you can always control what you are thinking and how you are feeling, right?
Right. And that level of awareness is where the power really is. You know, we talk a lot in New Thought about manifesting and demonstrating, but what you're demonstrating is your mastery of your own thoughts.
Yes.
And the power that those thoughts have. They do create, they do demonstrate. But if you haven't mastered them yet, how do you expect to demonstrate anything that you desire in that perspective, right? How do you expect to do that if your thoughts are leading you astray?
Right.
Or if you're not even conscious enough to know that your thoughts are leading you astray, that you're at the mercy and the whim of everything else, including your thoughts.
Wow. And so we have this beautiful quote from Walt Whitman. "Oh, while I live to be the ruler of life, not a slave, to meet life as a powerful conqueror, and nothing exterior to me shall ever take command of me." Right. And unfortunately, the way humanity lives, the way most people live, is that everything exterior to them takes command of them. They don't even realize it, right? And it's even beautiful when we become aware of that, like marketing. That's what marketing does. That's what advertising does. So sometimes I'll say to PY, "Oh, I just had a thought." I'm like, "Well, no, I didn't really have a thought. I just saw this thing on TV and now it's prompting me to have this conversation," right? So I'm clear that there was something external to me. It wasn't an original thought. It didn't come from me, right? But so often, the culture that we're in, the consumer culture that we're in, even within, shout out to my sister Kat Kim, that idea of consumer spirituality, right? That we even think we're having original thoughts, right? But we're actually being commanded by something exterior when it comes to just consuming information, which is why we talked about in the first week. We're not going to do that with this teaching, right? We're not going to do that with this class. So we go on, yet we do allow events, people, things, and economic conditions to take control of us. Note, for instance, how many people have become slaves to the wild fluctuations of the economy. Ask them how they feel, and they might very well say, I will be able to tell you after I read the stock market returns or after I see what my accountant comes up with, how we are manipulated by worldly conditions and values.
Absolutely. And even if you're not involved in the stock market, the moment you open up Facebook, the moment you get on social media,
Talk about it.
It's the same thing. So you might not have a portfolio, but your power has also been given to social media. So it becomes your portfolio. It determines how your day goes. It determines how your life unfolds. It determines what you put on your body. It determines how you feel about your body. So we are all and have been at the mercy of events, economic conditions, and even social trends.
Yes. I would rephrase that whole sentence. Note, for instance, how many people have become slaves to the wild fluctuations of social media.
Yes.
Right. And this didn't exist at the time that Eric Butterworth
or
was
he
writing
would have
this,
spoke to it.
Right? But think about it. All the time, no matter what's going on, because we're in this pandemic, social media things are kind of all COVID related right now. But y'all know how quickly we can go from everybody's talking about this one TikTok video to the next minute everybody's mad at Trump about this, to the next minute they're talking about this, to the next minute it's what Beyonce just did and she broke the internet, to the next minute, right? All of these things, which there's nothing wrong with being involved with those things. Hear us, right? It's just that, are we being commanded by those things? And do we have any original thoughts?
Right. Do we have any? And the truth is, we do have original thoughts, but they are beneath this surface reality that we are experiencing. Part of us is human. The other part of us is being, human being. So there's a human surface level, and then there's a beingness, an essence that we never get to when we're being motivated by thoughts that support another experience of life. We never get to the reality of life.
Some of these themes were touched on. If you haven't seen it, we were happy to watch it yesterday. The Michelle Obama documentary on Netflix, Becoming, right? Because she's touching on these underlying ideas of how she had to know who she was for herself, right? Outside of what other people were saying, outside of the statistics, and having a conscious sense of her own identity, even in her marriage, right? When you're married to somebody like Barack Obama, who's this passionate, powerful visionary, who's like a train that would just, take you along. And it's like, wait, who am I in the midst of this, right? And so she so beautifully demonstrates, but articulates that idea of how she had to be in command of her life, even in that context, right? So it's not just about social media. It's not just about these things. I've talked about it many times as parents. It's one of the things that's so real. So many parents base their identity and unknowingly, unconsciously, and with good intentions are being commanded by all the things that being a parent is about. But guess what? They grow up, they turn 18, they leave, they have their own lives. They ain't think about you. Right. And so if that was what was commanded, right, you were then a slave to that thing. Now what do? Right. It's real. It's real. It's real. It's real.
Definitely.
So I love this story that he talks about here in the chapter, because he comes back to this story several times, and it's a beautiful perspective on how we can live under any condition. A man was told by his doctor that he had but 6 months to live. A shocking discovery of an incurable condition. One might expect him to have an emotional collapse, but not this man. He reported to work the next morning as usual. His coworkers heard about the pronouncement and were shocked. They hovered around, morbidly commiserating with him. Someone asked, "What will you do?" His reply, "I will do what I have always done. Live with a grateful heart, one day at a time." And he could be grateful for the isness of life. Actually, this crisis was more than 10 years ago, and the man in question is very much alive and well, still living one day at a time with a truly grateful heart. It is not necessarily that the diagnosis was an error. Perhaps it is more a testimony to the healing influence of a controlled life sustained by an attitude of gratitude. The important thing is that these 10 years have been creative years, not just a dreary existence in anticipation of doom. One might say, well, now at least he has something to be grateful for. What did he have 10 years ago? But that is to miss the whole meaning of his demonstration. What his controlled life has proved is that thanksgiving is not just a reactionary emotion. It is a causative energy. It is an effective key by which anyone may meet life as a powerful conqueror.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the first key when we're talking about gratitude, thanksgiving, and appreciation. It is not reaction. It's not a reactionary emotion, right? And we'll get into that a little more, but we have this sort of tit for tat idea, right? And of course, there's the formal gratitude that, you have an interaction, you go to Starbucks, you buy a coffee, they give you your coffee, you say thank you, right? But what we're talking about here is the causative energy that can shift and change an experience, right? Because you choose to drop into gratitude without anything happening.
Mm-hmm. So it's never reactionary in the truest sense.
Right.
It's responding from a deep isness, a deep awareness of who and what you are and what you're connected to, the abundance of life that is,
Yes.
that is flowing through you.
Yes.
And if in the moment that you're in an experience of unwanted or an experience where your focus has shifted elsewhere, you can still bring yourself back to this isness,
Mm-hmm.
because you take your focus off of being reactionary and come from this place of knowingness.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm moving down to the next highlight. We usually consider gratitude and thanksgiving on the basis of obligation. Mm-hmm. For instance, someone does something for us and we feel obligated to show some kind of appreciation. Traditional religionists would insist that we owe it to God to give thanks for all our blessings. All this is good. We should be grateful. It is an important social grace, but even more, it is a requisite for high-level wellness. Mm-hmm. Now, you know how people react if you are not grateful, but what about God? Will God be disturbed if you do not return thanks? Will God say of you, such an ingrate? The fact is, it doesn't make any difference to God whether you give thanks or not, but it makes a lot of difference to you. Mm-hmm. God is too universal, too almighty to be dependent on your thanksgiving. Meister Eckhart probably shocked his colleagues in medieval times when he said, I never give thanks to God for loving me because he can't help himself. Whether he would or not, it is his nature to. You see, gratitude is not for God. You are not obligated to thank God for your life, for your job, for your prosperity. However, giving thanks is an important state of your consciousness that keeps you in an awareness of oneness with divine flow.
Mind-blowing, right? And it almost feels a little unsettling, because we've been conditioned to believe that this gratitude that we express is because if we don't do it, we won't get it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
As opposed to realizing that gratitude is us so that we can be it, mm-hmm. so that we can be this consciousness, so that we can be in the flow, so that we can remember we're never separate from this flow. Mm-hmm. It feels a little uneasy, so you got to take a breath, breathe that in, if that's the first time you've ever heard that or read that.
Right. Right. So what this means is that if gratitude is not for God, gratitude is for you. Mm-hmm. Right? Because what it does, when we put ourselves in a state of gratitude, when we live in that consciousness of gratitude on a daily basis and learning and recognizing that I can access that place, I can access that consciousness regardless of what's going on outside of me, what that is enabling me to do as I change myself, I change my experience of life, mm-hmm. right? Right? When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, right? And so that's what gratitude is doing. That's why he says here, giving thanks is an important state of your consciousness that keeps you in an awareness of oneness with divine flow. Mm-hmm. That's what gratitude is doing. That's why it appears to be magical, right? That's why it appears to do all of these wonderful things. But what it is doing is it is putting our minds, realigning ourselves mm-hmm. back to truth. And then we must experience the outpicturing of that.
It is focusing your faith. That's what gratitude does.
Yes, yes.
It's focusing your faith. We talked about that last week.
Yep.
Because your faith is always focused on something. Mm-hmm. And if you're not in this isness of gratitude, then you're focusing on something that would keep you separate from your good, would keep you looking for your good, would keep you begging for your good, would keep you thinking that if I do something for this external God, it'll bring it to me, as opposed to knowing that it's already there with me, moving through me, as me. My whole being is a thing in which gratitude is flowing through.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes.
Y'all.
And so he goes on, when you understand this, you see that a grateful heart does not need something to be grateful for. Mm-hmm. One can be grateful with the same spontaneity as being happy. It simply flows forth from within and becomes a causative energy. right? And so this is what we're talking about. If you recognize, we all have found ways that we're able to move back into a place of happiness or a place of joy, regardless of what the external situation may be, right? We find that children can do this very easily, and so sometimes it's good to observe how kids do that, or remember how we used to do it as children. We know that our pets do that very easily, right? And animals do that. And so we recognize that it's possible to tap back into that. Gratitude is the same way. And so I think even here it's helpful to think about gratitude also as an emotional experience, right? It's a feeling tone.
It's visceral.
Right. Instead of just like an action, right? That's the wow, that's actually very important, right? To understand that gratitude is a feeling tone more than it's an action. And that's why we're confused, because we're like, oh, I need to be in action, right? Okay, God sees my gratitude because I wave my hands in praise and clap and dance, right? And holler and spit, right? Those are all actions. I'm demonstrating my gratitude instead of being in gratitude, right? And that's a feeling tone.
It's a feeling tone. It's the same feel. It's that difference between, as Kirk Franklin, instead of being happy, you're in joy. Because happiness means you got to have something happening. Joy is just your natural state of being.
Yes.
Right? And gratitude is really your natural state of being. And so it's not hard. We're just redefining it in such a way that it feels like something.
Yes. And so he takes us to this beautiful passage in the Bible that we have heard from various people in different ways. Paul gave some advice that has been puzzling to many persons. He said, in effect, in all things, give thanks. All things? Is this practical or even possible? Can you be grateful for inflation that constantly steals the value of your money? Hello, 401ks. Can you give thanks for spiraling costs, for exorbitant interest rates, for personal financial crises? And how can you give thanks for lack and unemployment? Hello, somebody, right? In this moment, you don't. Right? Full stop.
Takes that pressure off of that.
See, some of us are out here thinking we spiritual, pretending like, oh, okay, I'm grateful. I should be grateful. I just got laid off, but I should be grateful. So I'm grateful that I got laid off. Or, I don't have enough food. I guess I should still be grateful though. So no. Because we're supposed to be grateful for all things. Or we sing it and we affirm it. Thank you, God, for everything. I have no complaints whatsoever. Shout out to Shauna. You emailed us about that, right? And the understanding around that. You hear that and it sounds crazy. Like, what's wrong with them crazy people? Don't y'all realize?
Don't they see what's going on? Don't they know what's happening in the world?
Right.
Of course we do. Of course we do.
Right. So full stop. You don't be grateful for those things, right? According to the law of consciousness, these things manifest in your life because of some subtle, subconscious ways you're frustrating the divine flow. Fine. But let's look at this puzzling statement of Paul's. Note he does not say, for all things give thanks. In the old time religion, if you had pants with patches, you should thank God for the pants, patches, and all. Poverty was a grace. We were told, be grateful for your little today, for you will have abundance by and by. In other words, you will have a great reward in heaven for being patient in your poverty today. It is a doctrine that has had a tragic, repressive influence on millions of people through the ages of Christian history. Now, as I was rereading this, and I'm trying to make it work, y'all, but I can't. I kept thinking about the song, Diamonds in the Back, Sunroof, Just Be Thankful. Right. I mean, it's Curtis Mayfield, it's William Devine, like it's a soul classic, but it's subtly keeping us in that same, you may not have a car at all, but just, be thankful for what you got. And there's some good in that, right?
There's a beginning of good in that. It just didn't go far enough to understand what was really being said.
Exactly. Right. And so we go on. What Paul does say is, in all things give thanks. In other words, despite the problems of lack, or even because of them, the need is to get yourself recentered in the awareness of the ever presence of substance. And the most effective way to accomplish this is by thanksgiving. Paul is stressing the importance of a grateful heart, not simply an expression of gratitude for things, but a heart that is grateful, full of greatness. The man who had 6 months to live may have had little to be grateful for, but he was grateful because he had a great reserve of faith to give thanks from. This insight of the grateful heart is a dynamic key to personal prosperity. Right? There's an underlying metaphysical idea that we keep coming back to, right? That it's possible in the midst of a condition to access this place of gratitude. Nature shows it to us so beautifully with the hurricane, that in the middle of the hurricane, there is absolute perfect stillness, right? And so that's that as within, so without, that we're seeing as above, so below. We're seeing that if it exists in nature, if it exists at that level, it must exist in me, because we are all one. And these laws, these truths are expressed at every level of life, at the human level, at the weather level, right? At the oceanic level, at the astronomical level. It shows up at in every way. And so we have this opportunity to be grateful in all things.
Right. And many times, we've been trained, especially if it's something that we would like to see different. And whether it's a job or relationship or health or whatever it is, and we're trained that, I should just be grateful that I have a job or whatever. And we're saying that's not where the gratitude, the tool, the most effective use of gratitude. Yes, of course, everyone is grateful to be employed. But if something within you is spurring you on to the next level of your unfolding, then having gratitude for that is really fear of the unknown and is really keeping you repressed in a situation where something within you is calling you forward.
Absolutely.
And so we don't just focus in on, yes, I should, everybody don't have a job. That's very true.
Right.
But there is something within you that says you are more because this God is more. So step into that more. And that's not denying what you have or what you have had. It's saying that, okay, this well of gratitude that I have, this well of goodness, that I have, I get excited, is calling me to something bigger, a bigger awareness of itself, a bigger unfolding of itself. That's what's happening.
All right, we're gonna have the whole PY down. She knocking the microphone over. Lord have mercy. All right.
There's these principles, these fundamental things that we've used to live our lives have kept us in bondage.
Yeah.
And so it's so important that when we come to new thought, that we let go of those old ways of thinking about God, ourselves, and these teachings and embrace a new way, because it gives us a new perspective and a new vantage point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we go on. It is a cosmic ideal that has been caught and taught by mystic teachers of all ages. Perhaps no one has articulated it better than Plato, who said more than 2,500 years ago, a grateful mind is a great mind which eventually attracts to itself great things. The grateful person is great because she or he has turned on all the lights within.
Yes.
You may say of someone, he has so much and he is so grateful, but by Plato's law, it may be that he has so much because he is so grateful.
Yes.
The grateful heart actually opens the way to the flow and becomes an attractive force to draw to itself great things. This is a deep idea, right? And a powerful truth, and something that if you really sit with this, it can transform your life as a prosperity idea. He has so much because he is so grateful. Now, when we say that, because we think, oh, well then, if I'm grateful for all of these bad things in my life, then eventually I will have so much. That's not what it is. It's if I can be like this man who it received a diagnosis, right, and was told he didn't have much more time to live. And if I can still access this vibration and feeling tone of gratitude, no matter what, right, in all things, that is then what then brings me so much, right? And then I develop that habit. And so then when the good shows up and when the stuff shows up, one, I'm not concerned about that because, again, I'm grateful in all things. I'm not grateful for all things. Oh, my Lord, this is good. If I'm grateful in all things, not for all things, when the good is here, I'm not grateful for the good either. I'm grateful because of this thing that is, this isness, God, this substance, this abundance, this prosperity that I always have access to no matter what the conditions are.
Absolutely.
So when the car is here, I'm not grateful because I have the car now. When the high-paying job is here, I'm not grateful now because I have the high-paying job. When the beautiful lover is in my life, I'm not grateful now because I have that lover. When I have the family, I'm not grateful because now I have the family. When my business is thriving, I'm not grateful because my business is thriving. Because then that would be me being grateful for things. But I'm grateful in all things. And then that is when you begin to live unconditionally.
Unconditional living. So it's not, we're not trying to live unconditionally so we can get to the good stuff, because that would be conditional.
Right.
We're just realizing and keeping ourselves balanced in this place of knowingness, that the good is always there. And so, yes, I enjoy those moments when things show up.
Of course.
I don't ignore those. I enjoy those, but I don't give those in any more emphasis than I do when the things don't show up. I just live in this flow, in this easy, effortless way of life unfolding. And so in every moment, I'm just in it. I'm just realizing that this thing that I see is me. This gratitude that I feel is flowing through me.
And I love this sentence, the grateful person is great because he or she has turned on all the lights within.
Light switches on.
So this is another way to think about what does it mean to be in the consciousness of gratitude? Shout out to Jill Scott and Erykah Badu. Pack light, right? Pack light in your bag. I love the kind of the double meaning of that in that song Bag Lady. It's like pack light. Don't carry around all your issues, right?
Right.
Heal, but also pack light. Put light in your bag. Put joy in your bag. Oh my Lord, put gratitude in your bag. Put peace in your bag. Put ease in your bag, right? Pack those things, right? And so then you turn all the lights on. We talked about it as related to faith, opening the drapes, allowing the light in. This is what all of this is about. Each week it keeps building on itself.
Absolutely.
Right? Now, I love this idea. He tells a story. I don't want to read the whole story, but he tells a story about a couple visiting New York for the first time and being fearful, being apprehensive because they heard there was a lot of crime and all of these things, and they just didn't know what the conditions would be. And so their host took them up on an observation deck. Probably it was Rockefeller Center. We don't know. So they got this beautiful view of Manhattan, a beautiful view of the city. And in the story, it says later, in a tour of the city, now on the ground, the man remarked that he could not forget that view from the top. They had a wonderful week-long stay and left singing the praises of the loveliest, friendliest, and finest place we have ever been, all because of the initial high-level perspective, right? So this is very interesting when we understand that what we're talking about here, again, it's another way to think about gratitude. It's another way to be clear about what's going on, is that the high-level perspective is what gratitude gives you. It's what moves you, as Emerson writes, and I think I had it here in my notes. Emerson writes that prayer is contemplation of the facts from the highest point of view, right? And so this is why we say we pray from the answer. That's the highest point of view, right? Well, gratitude is living life from the highest point of view.
Yes.
So in that place, that's why we can say we're never grateful in the conditions or grateful for the unwanted things. We don't live in that place, but we move ourselves on up a little higher.
On up a little higher.
Right. And we move above the conditions. It's a powerful insight to live by, he writes. Always get the view from the top. Before you react in negativity to people, conditions, or things, take a moment to lift up your eyes unto the hills. Contemplate all the changing, challenging experiences from the highest possible point of view, regardless of the appearances of conflicts or limitations. See all things from the awareness of the allness of life and the ever presence of substance. Right? This is just so beautiful. And I put here in my notes, this is so true. This is what meditation gives us, right? This is absolutely what meditation gives us. And one of the things, as I was thinking about this, what reminds me, and you can go on YouTube and you can find some of the videos from the David Lynch Foundation. I love hearing about teenagers and students who learn the transcendental meditation technique. Without fail, one of the things that you hear from those beautiful young people is after learning to meditate and after practicing meditation, they access this ability to do this very thing. that when they were reactionary in the past, and young men who, young boys becoming men who were, maybe angry and kind of lashing out at the world, and they would get in fights and would get suspended. All of a sudden, just through the practice of meditation, they come to this place where they're able to choose. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, it's like everything is slowed down and they're like, wait, do I want to do this? Or do I need to react in this way? Or is there another way? And so what Eric Butterworth is talking about here, before you react in negativity to people, conditions, or things, take a moment to lift up your eyes unto the hills. That's what this is doing. And this is why we encourage and we say daily spiritual practice is not an option, and why meditation is a part of that practice. Mm-hmm. A minimum of just sitting in the silence and the stillness. We talked about practicing the presence last week for 5 minutes, right? Minimum. That's what this is supporting you in doing. And then developing that consciousness of gratitude, developing that attitude of gratitude, which then allows you to view life from the top. From the view from the top, you will see things creatively, leading to an attitude that is constructive and optimistic. He goes on, there is an old saying that a donkey may carry a heavy load of precious sandalwood on its back and never know its preciousness, only its weight. You may go through life feeling only the weight of circumstances, never able to appreciate the precious nature of life, contrasting the view from the high building. It is like viewing the city from the sewer. With your head bowed down and your eyes fixed on the ground, you perceive a world of lack, and you attract to yourself conditions of financial chaos. How great is the need for the grateful heart that will attract to itself great things?
Man, how many of us are viewing our lives from the sewer? How many of us are looking at the conditions, the horrific nature, this is not how my life should have turned out? How many of us are in such darkness based on our way of thinking about ourselves that we never come out of that, that we live our lives in despair, that we live our lives in darkness? But there is something within us that gratitude promotes our awareness of. It becomes a tool, it becomes a ladder of lifting us up out of that sewer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a powerful awareness. And we go on to this next, so let me go back. We go to this next section. Some people, realizing the importance of the grateful heart, begin looking for things for which to give thanks. However, they mistakenly start with the perspective of inadequacy and insufficiency, and thus they simply become more conscious of limitations. The result is, instead of counting their blessings, they count their envies. He is so talented. She has so many lovely things. Or I wish I had a lovely home like they have. As a result, this is a very subtle process. As a result of this very subtle process, they develop paradoxically ungrateful hearts. So you know what this means, right? If you're comparing, that's a way to know you're not in gratitude.
Absolutely. If you are jealous or envious or in any of those emotions that we would consider negative or on the opposite pole, then you know you're not in gratitude. That becomes an indicator if I'm envying someone else, as opposed to just being in joy for what I perceive. This happened, the way I began to think about gratitude in terms of relationship, when I would see a couple, it wasn't, oh, look at how amazing they're, it was like, look at what's possible. When I saw a man acting and supporting in the way that I desired for myself, it became the thing. I was like, oh, wow, look what's possible. Look what, not only am I seeing, but I must be in it. I must be part of it, or I couldn't even see it. So I know it's here for me.
Yes.
And so I'm like, thank you that I get to see this expression of love. Thank you that I get to be witness and partake in it and feel what she's feeling and feel what he's feeling. That's how gratitude became the way, my vision. It wasn't, oh, I don't have it. It was, oh, look at it. And if I see it, I must be one with it.
Roosevelt says famously, comparison is the thief of joy, right? I will add on to that and say comparison is the thief of gratitude.
Yes.
Right? Comparison leads to an ungrateful heart.
It has no choice. And it's unconscious. It's not like, oh, I'm going to be ungrateful. It's related to the focus. The more I focus on the unwanted, the more my faith is focused on what I don't have and how I'm insufficient. right? It has to result in insufficient funds if I believe I'm insufficient, right?
Uh-oh.
Oh, I'm not going to go there, but okay.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
So we move forward. To pray for prosperity out of a sense of complaint or discouragement is to effectively compound the problem. You may pray for improved financial conditions, but if you're feeling poor, your feeling is the consciousness you will be projecting. That's actually a truth statement right there. Your feeling is the consciousness that you're projecting.
Yes.
Not your thinking, right? Feeling is the fuel that fuels your thoughts. And many times it's what colors your thoughts, because you may be thinking I am prosperous, but you're feeling lacking. And so the feeling tone is what expresses.
Right. Because that feeling tone is manifested from a deeper belief. Right. So I can be saying I'm prosperous all day long, but if my belief system and therefore my feeling tone is I am insufficient or have insufficient funds, then it has to show up.
Yep.
And you're wasting your time. Hate to say that, y'all.
And so the grateful heart draws to itself great things. The ungrateful heart, the discouraged, complaining, covetous level of thought will draw to itself limited things. So this takes us even more, right? We talked about comparison, but the discouraged, complaining, covetous, which coveting is really rooted in comparison.
And envy.
Right? And envy will draw to itself limited things. Right? This is why we have to be mindful, something that PY and we do with ourselves when we hear something or see something on the news and it might want to lead us into complaining. I'll say, all I know is all is well.
All I know is all is well.
All I know is all is well.
And I began saying that because it has to be true. Right? If life is viewed from the highest perspective, I'm obviously down on the ground in my seeing.
Right.
I'm down on the ground in my understanding. I'm down on the ground even in my feeling. And so all I know at my deepest level is all is well.
Yep. And so that's what we use as a way to get us back to that observation deck from the highest point of view.
Yes.
Right? Because it's clear. You start to feel it. You want to start complaining and you want to start going in and like, this don't make no sense. And why are they doing this? And what's wrong with them? And they know better. And right, you can get into all of that stuff. It's like, wait, no, all I know is all is well. All I know is all is well. From that highest point of view, that's true. My life has proven that to me, right? That I thought I knew what was going on the ground, right? But my ground point of view was not giving me the whole story. Right? It was not giving me the whole story. This is what I love to think about, why I love pictures of the earth and the beautiful hit song from Bette Midler, From a Distance, right? That when we zoom out and we see earth, all we see is one, right? There's no black, white, Asian, right? There's none of that. There's no different languages. There's no, even these lines that we carve, that my country, my state, your state, my house, your house. Those lines don't exist when you zoom out, right? There's a different point of view. There's a different perspective. There's oneness, right? And so we're all earthlings, right? There's no difference between human and animal from that perspective. And so this it's a beautiful thing to think about when you're thinking about zooming out. Right. And raising up your awareness and raising up your consciousness.
And many times in meditation, I'll use that technique where I'll take us, from the body to the community, out into blanketing the earth, and then out there from that perspective, just so you feel that sensation that there is a higher perspective and that I can feel that perspective in my meditative time. I can experience the higher perspective. I can close my eyes and go right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Theodore Roosevelt used to say, do what you can with what you have right where you are. So begin not with subtle resistance for what you do not have, but with what you have. A job, no matter how inadequate, some money, even if you are down to the proverbial last penny, get the view from the top. Remember that in truth, there is an abundance everywhere, so give thanks. Y'all remember the story of the prophet with the widow, right? It was this idea of, what do you already have? Right. And so often, again, when we're discouraged, when we're complaining, when we're covetous, when we're comparing, we're looking at, I don't have this, they have this, I don't have that, I don't measure up. Right. So we have to come back to, wait, what do you have in the house? What do you have in the house? And begin to put your mind and your attention on that. And he goes on, this is not to say you should give thanks for a job that is unpleasant or for the last penny if your supply is totally inadequate. That would be to kid yourself and to be intellectually dishonest. Many people become confused at this point in the misunderstanding of Paul's statement. giving thanks always for all things. The job is not a symbol of misfortune, and the penny is not a symbol of lack.
Yes.
Both are evidence of the activity of spirit manifesting in part. So you give thanks not for these things, but from the awareness that there is always an all-sufficiency, even within the insufficiency. This is deep, and I really hope we're really supporting you in accessing this idea that both are evidence of the activity of spirit manifesting in part.
Yes.
So here's the thing. Everything in life is evidence of the activity of spirit manifesting in part, right? When we say, I am one with God and God is expressing in, through, and as us, I am not all of God. PY is not all of God. You are not all of God. The earth is not all of God. Our solar system is not all of God. The universe, as we know, our universe, the Milky Way galaxy, is not all of God, right? And the trillions of other galaxies and more are being made known, right? So we recognize that this thing that is eternal, as everything is an individualized expression of it, no one thing is the whole. And so when we're in this position of feeling like, okay, our job, we don't like it or we just lost it. And so we could see it as a symbol of misfortune, or the penny or the few pennies that we have, we could see it as a symbol of lack. We can shift our understanding of it by saying, this is evidence of the activity of spirit manifesting in part. If that penny turns to $1 million, it's still $1 million is still just evidence of spirit acting in part.
Absolutely.
$1 billion is still spirit just acting in part, because source, there is no number that can contain or represent what source is. It's infinite. It's ongoing, ever evolving, endlessly pulsating, endlessly creating, as the Tao Te Ching says, right? So there is no number that is all of God. No number.
No number.
Right? So we recognize that it's always God acting in part. And so when you put your attention, wait, I got God acting in part right now. This is a manifestation of God in my hand right now. This is a manifestation of God, this job right now, whatever it is, whatever that salary that I'm making, or whatever that hourly amount is. It's God manifesting in part. I give thanks for the substance. I give thanks from this awareness that there is always an all-sufficiency, even within the insufficiency.
It is always pointing me to a deeper knowing. It is just representative of what is true on the grandest, largest scale. So I love seeing pennies. I use them as symbols of, oh, I'm connected. Look at that. Not, oh, it's only a penny, or look, I got to pick up this penny. I'm picking it up from the awareness that it is representative of the allness that I walk in, that I just looked down and saw in.
It's absolutely true. And it's beautiful. We think, you think about it, and I remember, some of my first little piggy banks, as a kid, and, pennies used to have value, used to seem like, oh, wow, I have all these pennies, and then I realized, like, you got to wrap a whole bunch of pennies to get to $1, right? And so then slowly I started to discredit and discount pennies. And so we have literally practiced ourselves into joy around pennies, right? I love seeing pennies on the ground. Sometimes I pick them up, sometimes I don't, but I always consciously celebrate. Look at this substance. Look at the all-sufficiency that's just always showing up. That's always there, right? And I believe that we spoke to this a few weeks ago, but beautifully, Eric Butterworth, he brings us back to the story of the fish and the loaves, right? According to the text, it says that Jesus fed 5,000 men plus women and children. So when we say he fed the 5,000, that can't be true, right? He fed more than 5,000 based on the story. But one of the most important pieces, there's so many things that that he did, right? And it says that essentially he turned away from the appearance of lack, right? He asked what was on hand, right? And what was brought to him on hand, it says, was a boy's lunch, right, consisting of 5 loaves and 2 fishes, obviously inadequate to meet the need of 5,000 men plus women and children, right? Jesus, starting with what they had, took the boy's lunch in his hand and looked up to heaven and gave thanks. This was not reaching up to God, for he had once clearly said that the kingdom of heaven is within you. He was turning away from the appearance of lack and getting the view from the top. Again, he was not giving thanks for the inadequate lunch. No, he was giving thanks from that elevated consciousness or the presence of abundance, as was visually suggested by the loaves and fishes. There wasn't enough bread, but there was enough substance for the whole of God's substance is present in its entirety at every point in space. How quickly we forget. The next Jesus did a strange thing. He blessed the available food. OMG. This power of blessing is not reserved for holy places or for specially ordained persons. It is an act of tremendous power that can be used by anyone. To find how extremely appropriate it was for Jesus to bless the boy's lunch, consult the dictionary. You will find that the word means to confer prosperity upon, right? And so that's our key word for today. Blessing. What does it mean? What does it mean to bless? Right. Well, blessing means to confer prosperity upon. Right. And so anything that we want to see increase, that we want to see multiply, we must bless. Now, the thing I love about this definition, confer. To confer something is like to grant something, right? To bestow something upon someone or something. But here's the interesting thing about confer, if you think about it, right? In our modern day, right, governments can confer certain declarations. You can have today is Yolanda Bat's Day in Brooklyn, right?
Yes,
and so
it
they
is.
would confer that, right? We know that the Queen, can still knights subjects of Britain, right? Great Britain. But what's interesting about that is the person that's conferring, oh my Lord, I know y'all with me already, must have power or authority to confer prosperity upon anything.
Yes.
Lord have mercy. So see, some of us are out here not knowing who we are, talking about, I bless this, I bless you, I bless this. And you don't even know who you are. You're not sitting on your throne of authority trying to bless something. So in order to bless anything, to confer prosperity, to bless that fish and loaves in your life, whatever that may look like right now, to bless that job, to bless that bank account, to bless that family, to bless that experience, you first must get the view from the top and recognize your authority. See, Jesus blessed the fish and the loaves because he understood I and my Father are one.
He knew his authority. He knew where it came from. He knew its connection to it. So y'all out here saying have a blessed day, but you don't even know that you have that power to bestow it on another.
Exactly.
We're not even realizing how much power those words, they just become rote things that we say, as opposed to when you say it, I am aware that there is some power within me. And when I use this word, these phrases, this idea, I'm activating the power within me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. So it's very powerful, right, to understand that the word means to confer prosperity upon. You are always projecting some kind of thought toward everything you have or hold. Sometimes it is negative, limiting, restrictive, but you can bless your home, your job, or your money supply, and thus confer a consciousness of abundance upon them. It is not something you do to these things. Rather, it is a correction of the mentality that you are projecting to them. And the law is that these things become to you that which you see them as being. I'm going to read that again. The law is that these things become to you that which you see them as being. Here's the other thing. Blessing or conferring prosperity upon something is not magic, because in truth, you're the authority of your life.
Yes.
In truth, you are the queen and the king of your life. And so you're always conferring either lack and limitation upon this thing, not enoughness upon this thing, or you're conferring blessing and prosperity and abundance and more than enough, all sufficiency upon this thing.
What if we, for example, just looked at our bodies and blessed it, as opposed to finding its deficiencies, its inaccuracies, its mistakes? What if we just woke up every morning and we just conferred prosperity on it? We just loved it for what it is, what it represents.
It's a practice that I do when I take a shower. I encourage you all to do it. Literally, I bless my head. I bless my cheeks. I bless my nose. I bless my shoulders. as I'm washing my body, I'm already in this process. It's interesting because you're already if you understand, for those, that come in the church background of like laying on of hands and that idea, right? You're already doing something, and there's thinking going on as you're touching your body, right? You can bless your knees and bless your ankles and bless your toes and bless your fingers.
Absolutely. I do
It's
it
a
before I get
powerful
out of bed.
practice.
I do it as my first example of gratitude in the morning. Yeah, probably. If there was a hidden camera in our house, I'm blessing before I get out of bed. He and they're blessing in the shower, right? But
Oh,
it's
my
true.
goodness.
That is my first example of gratitude in the morning. Understanding what happened while I slept was from the higher perspective.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so this also it becomes tools that help us stay in this vibration of gratitude.
The law is that things become to you that which you see them as being.
Right.
That's the law.
If you have issues with your body or your relationships or your bank account, if you see them as a problem, they will continue to be a problem.
And we're going to move forward because I'm seeing, wow, it's already 12:20.
Oh, wow.
He goes on to talk a little bit more about the miracle that Jesus performed. I love what he talks about. Shout out to Dr. George Lamza, who's one of our fellow, Dr. George Lamza and Dr. Erica, who is our fellow honoree Walden New Thought Award nominee. But he talks about this beautiful idea that brings us into understanding how this miracle may have come about. And I think it's beneficial because it can kind of help you to see a little differently, like, wow, okay, wait, these things are possible, and take it out of the
mystical,
magical, improbable,
right?
So I love that, right? And so at the end of that, he says the grateful heart will always attract to itself in one way or another, through human hands or through wonder-working ways, the great things needed to solve a particular situation. It is an outworking that you can stake your life on, right? It's beautiful. Now, this next section, PY and I were talking about it and laughing about it because I this is where we have to use our hermeneutic of suspicion and side-eye the text a bit. We talked in the previous week, sort of made some clarity around that issue of the black cloud and the white cloud. This story, there's about a missionary going to Africa and making the judgment that this tribe was poverty-stricken compared to other tribes, and went on to determine that this tribe doesn't have a word for gratitude or thanksgiving or appreciation in their language, and said, could this loss of the spirit of thanksgiving have been responsible for their poverty? One of the things, and unfortunately, there's no references around this. We don't know who the missionary was or what the specific situation was. We don't know who the tribe was, even referring to Africa as one place when there's many beautiful countries that make up the continent of Africa. I don't want to take this at face value. We don't know what's going on. And so we just have to be suspect. The Western mindset coming in and judging a community of indigenous people as poverty stricken. It's through their lens. It's through a white male patriarchal
Western,
lens,
yes.
right? All of those things we have to be mindful of. So I think it's important, as we've done in previous weeks, to kind of just say that. And you can feel free to skip over that because the underlying idea of gratitude, what we're talking about, it's still here, right? It's still here.
It probably wasn't the best use of an example to support this conversation around gratitude. And it did make the hair on the back of my neck stand up, if I'm honest. Anytime that I see a Western mentality and mindset going into anywhere where indigenous people live, move, and have their being, I usually I side-eye it because it is that different lens that doesn't understand those indigenous people, what they come from, their history, and their internal knowingness and connection to the well-being that these people are talking about and supposedly bringing to them. Okay, I'll stop.
Yeah, right. and we recognize that, of course, from our Western mindset, we associate prosperity with having things. I mean, this is what we're working on and unlearning, right? And so from the Western perspective, you go somewhere and you don't see people with things, and you're like, they're poverty stricken,
Mm-hmm.
right? I thought about it last week. It's a great to watch. I think it might be available on Amazon Prime. It was for a long time. A documentary called Happy, right? Which goes around the world and really sees, again, this idea that we have access, we can access happiness. It's not about what's going on out here. And you see people who don't have a lot of things, who don't have all the stuff we have, and they have way more joy than the average person in the United States, right? Or just in the Western world.
Way more connected.
Yeah.
And, the reverse is also true. You can have all the things in the world and still not have access to this truth that is supported in this text, and even by using this tool of gratitude. So you can side-eye that little story a little bit, or you can, as I like to say, you can take the meat and leave the bones. You can take what is true about this text and this chapter and leave those other things that were created and written from a perspective. Okay?
Absolutely. So we go on. Some people might protest, but you don't understand my situation. How could I be grateful in my financial dilemma? This is precisely the time to stir up the gift of gratitude. Remember, it is not a reactionary emotion, but a causative energy. You do not need to be grateful for. You only need the desire to feel grateful. Invoke Plato's law. When you feel grateful, you become great and eventually attract great things. The missionary all but concludes that we grow rich by thanksgiving and we grow impoverished by losing the spirit of gratitude, right? Which was the point that they were trying to make. George Bernard Shaw once said, God has given us a world that nothing but our own folly keeps from being a paradise. In other words, we live in a world that always has the potential for affluence. All the substance of the universe, all the wealth that has ever manifested itself or ever will manifest itself in this world is present right now. And what's beautiful about that, it's not just we live in a world that always has the potential for affluence, because part of what happens there, it's like, oh, okay, well, the Kardashians can have affluence, but I can't. I live in a world where affluence is possible. Each of us are individual worlds. Each of us are individual universes, right? And so when we're thinking about that, when you hear that line, hear it from that perspective. My world always has the potential for affluence, right? Not just PG and PY's world, not just that world over there, this person over here, that person that I think should be successful because they're pretty or, no.
Right. Or because they're young, or whatever conditions we put on it, whatever limitations we're arguing for.
Right. I think they're so talented, so of course they would be successful, right? We all individually live in a world that has the potential for affluence. All the substance of the universe, it is present right now.
If this world, the physical world, has all the potential for abundance, affluence, we're just another world walking around, right? So we have it too. We came with it. It's not something that someone else is going to have to give us. We're not going to have to work hard to prove to God that we deserve this affluence. We came with it. We wake with it. We go to sleep with it. It's not going anywhere except in our awareness of it. Does it ever feel lost to us?
And so I'm just going down to the bottom of this page because I think this is a beautiful moment for us to take in. Where Butterworth writes, take a moment right now to engage in the experience of gratitude. Close the book, right? Don't close your screen. And close your eyes in this moment. Just close your eyes. We take a deep breath in and we feel grateful. That gratitude is the connection to all things. Don't turn outward, casting about for things to give thanks for. Remember, it is not an emotional reaction to blessings you can count.
Yes.
It is an energy you stir up within that is causal. Resist the temptation to indulge such thoughts as, I would be grateful if I received that promotion and a raise in salary. No qualifications, no ifs or whens. Just feel grateful. Let the spirit of thanksgiving flood your whole being with its healing warmth. In your gratefulness of heart, you can confer prosperity upon all the many things, experiences, and people whose performances have such a profound influence on your life. Bless the car you drive or the bus or train you ride. Bless the weather and the traffic. Bless your place of business or employment. Bless your employer and your coworkers. Bless your investments and your cash flow. Bless your home and family. Bless your friends and neighbor.
Yes.
Now, blessing exerts no magic power over these people, conditions, or things. In fact, it doesn't change them at all. It changes you,
Yes.
your thoughts and feelings, and the consciousness you project into your world. On that, let's just all say amen.
Amen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so it is.
So it is.
So it is. Oh my goodness, beautiful people.
So if you're in that vibration of gratitude for being here and now, that means it's been stirred up and is alive within you. Don't let that knowingness, that feeling that you feel right now, dissipate.
Yeah.
Take that into the rest of your day. Take that into your slumber. Take that into your waking.
Mm-hmm.
Take that into every call you have.
Yeah.
It's activated. It's been stirred up
Mm-hmm.
by us being together today.
Mm-hmm.
And so you know it's not somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you feel it right now, it's there.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. And so in this moment, we're preparing for giving. For those that are here with us the first time, we at CSC, we teach giving in a very specific way. And it's similar to this idea, even when we think about gratitude is not for God. We don't give to please God.
Mm.
We don't give to, I pray that you're not giving to be in our good graces or any of that, right? Because we don't give to influence anything.
Yes.
But we give from this perspective of this knowing of the all-sufficiency, right? That this bit that I give, it's just a part, right, of the whole. Mm-hmm. And I give that part of the whole to keep me in the mindset of remembering that there is more than enough, and from this more will come. And so we encourage you to find your joy number. Mm. Whatever that number is, that's the number that you want to give, right? Any other vibration, again, if you're giving out of obligation, if you're giving to influence God or people, right, that's not going to give you the benefit of giving.
Yes.
But when you give from this place of joy, right, and you give from this place of ease, from this place of the all-sufficiency, that is then when you experience the blessing or, the miracle of giving, right? And so even in this moment, I invite you to just bless your phone, right, or bless in your mind that amount that you're giving. Right. And so for those that would like to give, you see the information here on your screen. You can go to our website, celebrationsc.org/give, and follow the instructions there to give, or you can text to give. 347-744-9500. There is a $10 minimum to text to give because of the fees that are involved with that service. So whatever feels good to you, use that. I love to text to give. It's quick and easy. I set up my recurring donation because it's even easier. And it gives me joy when I get my email prompt response that my recurring donation has gone through. And I sit in that place of joy and gratitude, knowing this truth, right, of how and why we give. And so when we give from this place, what do we say? All the money that I use, returns to be multiplied.
Returns to me multiplied.
In a never-ending cycle.
In a never-ending cycle.
Of increase.
Of increase.
And enjoyment.
And enjoyment.
And enjoyment. And so as we are in this consciousness of gratitude and a grateful heart, I thought it would be beautiful to share this video, which I actually couldn't find, and I didn't know if it existed. But thankfully, I was able to locate it this morning. This is just wrapping it all up. This idea of being grateful and living in gratitude and having a grateful heart and mind. It's Mother's Day, and so many of us, we're grateful for our mothers and the mother figures in our life. And so I invite you to just take this time to live in the spirit and feeling of gratitude, and let Soul 21 take you into that vibration. We look forward to seeing you all on Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you can't connect with us then we look forward to seeing you next Sunday. We will be reading the next chapter, studying the next chapter. So make sure you're reading chapter 6 this week, and God Talk next week. So yes. Make sure that you're on the mailing list as well so that you can get that information. Happy Mother's Day again.
Happy Mother's Day to everyone out there.
Yes, yes. We love you all.
Love you all.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.
I'm also grateful just to be alive. I'm grateful to be breathing. I'm grateful for the clothes on my back. I'm grateful for the shoes on my feet. I'm grateful to be in this room with all of you who love real music, who love live music. Yes, yes. So we're just going to take this time to be in a little gratitude and feel the vibration of thankfulness. It goes like this. I am grateful. I am thankful. I appreciate and I celebrate. Soul 21, can you sing your gratitude song? I am grateful. Ooh. I am thankful. I appreciate. Appreciation and gratitude is the same thing. And I celebrate. And I celebrate. I am grateful. One more time, you can sing along. I am grateful. Wave your hand if you're grateful tonight. I am thankful. I appreciate. And I celebrate, and I celebrate. And I celebrate. I appreciate. For this breath I'm breathing, yeah. And I celebrate. Oh, I appreciate. Yes, yes, I appreciate that I can see. And I celebrate. And I appreciate that I can use this mind to think. I appreciate. Grateful mind and a grateful heart leads to a grateful life. A grateful heart, a grateful mind leads to a grateful life. If we think thoughts of gratitude, we hold those thoughts in our heart, then our life begins to show us magnificent miracles. Tenors, can you sing it with me? Grateful heart, grateful heart, grateful mind, yes, grateful life, grateful, grateful heart, grateful mind, it leads to a grateful life. Altos, can you join in? Can you sing? I am, I am, I am. Sopranos. Sing grateful. Yes. When the gratitude goes up, the miracles come down. When the gratitude goes up, there's blessings all around. When the gratitude goes up, there's miracles all around. Miracles all around. Miracles all around. Yes, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Can we all sing this together? I am, everybody together. I am, yes. I am grateful. Oh, can we sing I am, yes. I am. I'm so grateful. One more time, it feels so good. It feels so good to me. It feels so good to me. It feels so good to me. Yeah. Just the voices. Just the voices. One big choir, yeah. Grateful. One more time, you sound so good. So good. Grateful. Yes, yes. So grateful, so grateful, so grateful.